Marcus Chen sat quietly in the corner booth of the downtown bar, nursing a glass of water. The Friday night crowd was getting louder by the minute, but he kept to himself, scrolling through his phone while waiting for his sister to finish her shift. She was a bartender here, and he had promised to give her a ride home. It was the least he could do since she had helped him move into his new apartment last month. The bar was packed, laughter echoing across the room. Marcus had chosen this corner spot deliberately. It was away from the chaos, a place where he could keep an eye on his sister while staying out of the way. At 32 years old, he had learned to appreciate quiet moments whenever he could find them. A group of men walked past, loud and several drinks deep. Marcus barely glanced up. He had seen this scene play out countless times in cities across the world. Young guys, full of confidence and alcohol. His sister Sarah caught his eye and mouthed, 30 minutes. Marcus nodded and settled back. He thought about the book he'd started that morning, a thriller about international espionage. It was entertaining, though the author clearly had never experienced the real thing. The hero was too perfect. Real operations were messy, complicated, and rarely ended with everyone walking away unharmed. Marcus had just returned from a 6-month deployment. The transition back to civilian life was always strange. One day you're in hostile territory. The next, you're overwhelmed by 17 types of cereal. He checked his watch. 25 minutes until Sarah's shift ended. He could handle that. The bar would get more crowded, but he would stay patient. Patience was something the Navy had taught him well. You could not rush certain things. You had to wait for the right moment and stay alert. The same group of men were now near the pool tables. One of them, a tall guy with styled hair, seemed to be the ringleader, talking the loudest. Marcus noticed a waitress trying to navigate past them. The tall guy stepped back without looking, nearly causing her to drop everything. Sarah was handling a customer, pouring shots and making small talk. She was good at her job, always friendly even when dealing with the difficult ones. She had put herself through nursing school while working nights. Now she was almost finished. Just one more semester to go. Marcus kept half an eye on them while appearing to focus on his phone. Old habits were hard to break. Situational awareness wasn't something you turned off. He unconsciously noted the exits, the positions of people, potential obstacles, and anything that could become a problem. Another waitress approached the pool tables. The tall guy said something Marcus couldn't hear, but he saw her shake her head and step back. The group laughed. Marcus sighed internally. He had hoped for a quiet evening. He didn't want trouble. But he also could not stand by when people were being harmful. 15 minutes left. He glanced at Sarah. She worried about him enough already, always asking if the deployments were getting to him. He always said he was fine. The bar owner, Pete, emerged and surveyed the establishment. He sensed the tension but got pulled aside. The moment of potential intervention passed. Everything would probably be fine. He could wait 10 minutes. The wait was almost over, but the alertness, that never left.
Friday night at the local haunt, a place for decompression, or so it seemed until the geometry of the room began to shift. This is the account of a calculated intervention. A young couple was minding their own business. They were on a date, enjoying the simple rhythm of a game. But peace is a fragile thing. A comment was made. Marcus couldn't hear the words, but the body language was unmistakable. The tall man was marking territory. The boyfriend tried to keep it calm. A low voice, a request for space. But to a bully, calm is often mistaken for a lack of resolve. His girlfriend saw it coming. She tried to defuse the situation, smart enough to know this wasn't worth the cost, but the tall man wasn't finished. Marcus set his phone down. His posture remained relaxed, but his senses were fully engaged. Training teaches you to see the punch before the fist clenches. The staff was distracted. Sarah was lost in her routine. Pete was moving too slowly. They didn't sense the pressure building yet. Then came the poke, a calculated challenge. When the boyfriend swatted the hand away, the threshold was crossed. The tall man had his excuse. A hard shove sent the boyfriend back into the table. The room's ambient noise dropped, replaced by the sharp intake of breath and a scream. The modern response to violence: pull out a phone and record. Some backed away, others prepared to document the fallout. The boyfriend shoved back. Now the friends were moving in. The friction was turning into a fire, and the oxygen in the room was running out. Marcus stood up. No hurry, just purpose. At 5'10" in jeans and a dark t-shirt, he was invisible. That was his greatest advantage. Pete tried his best, but he was one man against 8. The tall guy was in the center of it all, feeding off the chaos. Marcus waited at the edge. He wasn't looking for a fight, he was looking for a solution. He saw courage facing a night of real damage. The first punch was telegraphed. It landed, sloppy, but effective enough to stagger a man who didn't know how to roll with the blow. Then the odds changed. 2 friends grabbed the boyfriend's arms, holding him stationary. The tall guy drew back his fist for the finisher. Marcus moved, not a charge, just 3 strides of absolute efficiency. His hand caught the wrist mid-swing. The momentum stopped cold. "That is enough," Marcus said. He didn't shout. He didn't have to. Something in his tone was like a bucket of ice water over a fever. Confusion is a brief window. The tall man tried to yank his arm free, but found his wrist anchored to something immovable. His friends let go. Marcus kept it conversational. He wasn't squeezing to hurt, just to communicate a physical reality. He was the one in control now. He gave them an out. "Let these people go. Finish your drinks. Go home." An invitation to walk away with their dignity intact. In every confrontation, there is a moment where the outcome is decided. Marcus chose the moment. He chose the outcome. This has been the ground report.
The tall guy rubbed his wrist, his face flushed with anger and humiliation. His friends were watching him, waiting to see how he would respond. The crowd had grown larger now, forming a loose circle around the confrontation. Phones were recording. Someone was going to post this online within the hour. Marcus knew. "You think you are tough?" Jake said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You think grabbing my wrist makes you some kind of badass?" Marcus said nothing, his hands visible, his posture non-threatening. He could see Pete pushing through the crowd, phone in hand, connected with emergency services. "I asked you a question," Jake continued, stepping closer. His friends moved up behind him, forming a wall of support. "You think you are tough?" "No," Marcus replied calmly. "I think I am someone who does not want to see anyone get hurt tonight, including you." Jake's friend laughed mockingly. "Listen to this guy. He is trying to save us from getting hurt. I think he needs a lesson, Jake." Jake's jaw clenched. Marcus could read the decision in his eyes. Pride was a powerful drug, and combined with alcohol, it made people do incredibly foolish things. "Last chance," Marcus said. "Walk away, go home, sleep it off. Tomorrow this will all seem really stupid." "Is that it?" Jake mocked. "You are just going to stand there and lecture me? What are you, some kind of security guard? A cop?" "Just someone who has seen how these situations usually end," Marcus replied. "And trust me, you do not want that ending." The crowd was getting restless, some calling for the fight, others for calm. Pete was describing the location to emergency services. Marcus noticed the girlfriend helping her boyfriend to the side, getting him away from the violence. They were smart enough to extract themselves. Marcus remained silent. He had said everything that needed saying. Experience told him exactly what move Jake would make next. "Jake!" Pete called out. "Enough, the police are on their way. Everyone needs to calm down and back off." "I do not want a free drink," Jake interrupted. Marcus could smell the top-shelf whiskey. Jake was about to make a terrible decision. Marcus's training ran scenarios. 8 opponents, crowded bar, exits blocked. His goal, end this quickly with minimal damage to everyone involved.
Jake was still talking, working himself up, feeding off the attention. Marcus recognized the pattern. Jake needed to act now, or his courage would fail him. The moment of decision was here. 1 second Jake was talking, gesturing. The next second his hand was moving, reaching back to grab a pool cue. He swung it in a wide arc. Marcus's training took over. He stepped inside the swing, too close for the pool cue to have any power. His left hand came up and caught Jake's wrist again, twisting it sharply. The pool cue clattered to the floor. Jake's eyes went wide with shock. He tried to pull back, but Marcus's grip was unbreakable. In one smooth motion, Marcus used Jake's own momentum against him, applying pressure to his wrist and elbow. "Do not move," Marcus said quietly. "If you struggle, you will dislocate your shoulder. Stay still." Jake froze. He could feel Marcus was not bluffing. His friend stood there, not sure how to respond. The shaved head friend recovered first. "Let him go," he shouted, stepping forward with his fists raised. Marcus did not even look at him. "Stay back. I do not want to hurt anyone, but I will if I have to." Something in Marcus's tone stopped the friend mid-step. It was a statement of fact, delivered with complete certainty. The friend could not let it go. He threw a punch at Marcus. A straight right hand aimed at his face. Marcus shifted his weight, letting the punch pass harmlessly by his head. He stepped inside the guard. He placed his palm against the friend's chest and pushed. Not hard, just firm enough. The friend sat down hard. Marcus turned back to Jake, hands up in a placating gesture. "Please," he said, "just stop." But Jake was beyond reasoning. The humiliation was too much. His pride had taken hit after hit in front of the crowd. Jake charged forward, leading with a wild haymaker. Pure rage, no technique. Marcus sidestepped easily. Jake spun around, breathing hard. "Fight me," he screamed. Marcus shook his head. "No." Marcus weaved through the combination, head and body moving with minimal effort. To the untrained eye, it looked like luck. To anyone who knew what they were watching, it was clear Marcus was operating on a completely different level. Two more friends decided to get involved, trying to overwhelm him with numbers. Marcus had trained for this. He redirected their energy, sending them stumbling into each other. They had attacked him multiple times, and he had barely touched them.
The bar went silent as Jake smashed a bottle, escalating a simple fight into a deadly threat. Everyone watched, phones recording. Marcus heard the sirens approaching. He had less than a minute to end this before the police arrived and things got complicated. Jake lunged with the broken bottle. Marcus didn't dodge. He stepped into the attack, seizing the wrist and striking the elbow joint. The bottle shattered on the floor. Marcus transitioned into a chokehold, restricting blood flow until Jake went limp. It was over in seconds. Marcus lowered him carefully to the floor. No serious injuries, just a headache for Jake when he wakes up in a minute. The police burst in, shouting for everyone to put their hands up. Marcus immediately complied, keeping his hands visible and spread. He reached for his wallet with exaggerated care, showing his Navy Special Operations ID. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. Minimal necessary force. It's what separates the professional from the aggressor. Marcus had de-escalated a lethal situation in under 30 seconds.
The tension didn't vanish. It simply shifted. Officer Patterson lowered his weapon, his gaze moving from the threat to the professional reality of Marcus's military ID. Behind them, the groans of returning consciousness filled the room. Jake was waking up to a world that no longer belonged to his bravado. "Special operations?" Patterson asked, his tone shifting to a quiet, respectful curiosity. "Navy SEAL?" Marcus nodded once. He never liked advertising it. Honesty was the only tactical option left. Marcus gave a concise, factual account of every strike and technique he had used. Patterson listened, taking notes with clinical focus. He detailed the escalation, from the harassment of the waitress to the intervention. Every move was described with the technical precision of a mission debrief. Pete and the witnesses were corroborating the same story. Jake and his friends had started it. Marcus had tried to stop it peacefully. He had defended himself. Sarah finally broke through the crowd. "Marcus, are you okay?" He assured her he was fine, just wrong place, wrong time. But Patterson knew better. "Wrong time maybe, but definitely the right person," Patterson interjected. "Your brother just prevented what could have been a very serious situation. That guy was swinging a broken bottle." Sarah's hand went to her mouth. She looked at the glass, then back at Marcus. "You could have been hurt." Marcus simply replied, "But I was not. Nobody was." "This is remarkable," Patterson muttered. "You never even threw a punch." Marcus didn't need to. The goal was to neutralize the threat with minimal harm. To Marcus, violence was a surgical tool. "They were untrained and intoxicated," he said. In his world, precision and restraint are the ultimate expressions of strength. Jake tried one last time. "I want to press charges. He attacked me." But his voice lacked conviction. He was playing a hand he had already lost. "Press charges?" Patterson repeated. "I have witness statements and video that say otherwise. You armed yourself. He defended others. If anyone is getting charged, it's you." Patterson gave them a choice: leave now and never return, or face arrest for assault with a deadly weapon. Jake looked at his friends, then at the floor. The fight was over. "Smart choice," Patterson said. He watched them go, a group of young men who had just learned a lesson they would never forget. A lesson in consequence. Jake paused at the door, looking back. Marcus met his gaze steadily. No ego, no malice. Just the quiet strength of a man who knows his own capability. "I need a statement," Patterson said. "But honestly, you handled this about as well as anyone could have. You showed remarkable restraint." Marcus called it training. "You are still bleeding," Sarah whispered. Marcus looked down at the small cut. "It is nothing," he said. And to him, it was. A small price for the safety of the room. Marcus Chen walked away with a clean conscience. He protected the innocent and neutralized the threat with the minimum force necessary. That is the Mitchell standard.
The bar slowly returned to normal as the police finished their investigation. Pete offered Marcus a drink, but he declined, nursing his warm water. Sarah's shift had ended during the commotion. Officer Patterson finished his paperwork and approached Marcus one last time. "I put in my report that you acted in self-defense. No charges will be filed." "I appreciate that, officer," Marcus said. Patterson lowered his voice. "How long have you been a SEAL?" 9 years, Marcus replied. 3 more deployments to reach my 20. I was in the Army infantry, but I never saw anything like what you did tonight. Taking down multiple guys without breaking a sweat. That is serious training. "The teams are thorough," Marcus said simply. "Guys like Jake think they are tough until they meet someone who actually is." He learned a lesson tonight. Sarah finally got her things. "Let us get out of here," she said. "I have had enough excitement for one night." They walked to the truck in silence. The city lights flickered against the dark buildings. Sarah was quiet, processing everything. "I knew you were trained for danger," Sarah said, "but seeing it in person, that was different. Those guys did not stand a chance, did they? They were drunk and undisciplined. Training and sobriety go a long way. It is not a different person," Marcus explained, "just a different mode. Like your nurse mode at the hospital. Professional training takes over. Nurse mode does not involve choking people," Sarah pointed out. "Fair enough," Marcus smiled. "But the principle is the same. You train until responses are automatic. When it happens, you do not think. You act." They drove in silence. Sarah lived in a small apartment near school. She wanted to make it on her own, despite the risks. "Do you ever get scared?" she asked suddenly, "in situations like that, or overseas?" Marcus considered the question carefully. "Fear is a tool," he said. "It keeps you sharp. The key is not letting it control you. You use it to stay alert. Fear is natural. Panic is dangerous. We train to eliminate the panic." "That sounds like a fortune cookie," Sarah smiled. "We are not poets. What about Jake?" "Some people learn from this. They realize how close they came. Others just blame everyone else." He looked shaken when he left. "Maybe he will rewrite history to make himself the hero. People do that all the time. But hard to rewrite reality with 10 camera angles." They pulled up to her building. "Thank you," she said, "for being there, for keeping everyone safe." "I did not do anything special," Marcus said. "Yes, you did. Most people would have looked the other way. You stepped in when someone needed help. That is special, Marcus." Marcus Cole was trained to be a weapon, but tonight he chose to be a shield. Informed courage, disciplined intelligence. That is the Mitchell standard. This has been a report from the Ground Report. Investigative Histories and Strategic Analysis. Good night.
Marcus drove home alone, the streets quieter now as the night grew late. His apartment on the east side was nothing fancy, but it was safe. Still unpacking boxes from his latest deployment, he was trying to make the space feel like home. But after months in the field, the silence of civilian life just felt empty. His phone buzzed, not just his CO, but his buddy Ryan. The video of the bar fight was already trending. Marcus groaned. He didn't want the fame, he just wanted to be invisible. He cleaned the small cut on his arm, a habit from years of training. The physical wounds were easy to manage. The digital ones, less so. Then his father called. A retired Marine who understood the geometry of a fight. "You showed restraint, Marcus. That is good discipline. But remember, you are not a vigilante." "Right place, maybe," his father had said. "Those people needed someone like you there." Marcus sat in the dark, wondering if he was in the right place or just the inevitable one. In the silence of his apartment, Marcus Chen realized that discipline isn't just about how you fight. It's about the man you remain when the fight is over.
Marcus woke early out of habit. Years of pre-dawn drills had programmed his clock to ignore the concept of sleeping in. He went for a run, 6 miles at a steady pace to work out the residual tension from the night before. When he returned, there was a voicemail from a familiar voice. It was Jake, the man from the bar, calling to apologize. This was unexpected. Calling to apologize took a certain kind of courage, especially after the humiliation Jake had experienced. They met at Bean Theory. Jake looked younger in the daylight, vulnerable and stripped of his previous night's bravado. Jake asked why he hadn't been messed up. Marcus told him plainly, the goal wasn't to punish but to protect. It's about survival, Marcus explained. When you understand the cost, you lose the desire to play at being tough. Courage isn't found in a bottle or a brawl. In the geometry of discipline, the greatest victory is the fight that never happens.
The echoes of a barroom confrontation rarely linger as long as the questions that follow it. For Marcus and Jake, the night before was a catalyst. They sat for an hour in a quiet corner, the steam from their cups rising into the cool morning air, a dialogue of life, choices, and the weight of consequences. Jake spoke of his world, a life built on tech salaries and social circles that he was beginning to realize were hollow at the core. "I make good money," Jake had said. "I have the car, the apartment, but at the end of the day, what is the point of it all?" Marcus didn't offer easy answers. He spoke of finding something bigger than oneself to serve. For him, it was a country and a code of protection. Having a purpose, a mission, Marcus told him. That is what gives life its meaning. It is why you step in when others step back. He explained that you don't need a uniform to understand basic human decency. When someone is in trouble and you can help, you help. Jake looked down, the weight of his own inaction heavy. He wondered how one becomes the person who does the right thing instead of the stupid thing. The answer, Marcus said, lies in the small choices. Choosing kindness over cruelty, choosing to build up rather than tear down, every single day. Heroic moments are rare, but the small moments where you build character, those happen every hour. That is how you earn the right to look in the mirror. They finished their coffee and stepped out into a world that was bright and clear, entirely unaware of the shift in trajectory that had just occurred. Jake offered his thanks, not just for the restraint Marcus had shown the night before, but for the honesty he had offered today. "You got a wake-up call," Marcus had said. "Make it count." He watched the young man go, wondering if the change would stick. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. The digital world was already reacting to what had happened at Pete's bar. The headline called him a hero. It quoted Pete and the witnesses, detailing his service and the restraint he had exercised. But Marcus didn't feel like a hero. In his mind, real heroes were the ones who never made it home, the ones who gave everything for the mission. He thought of his brothers who had fallen. Compared to their sacrifice, handling a drunk civilian in a bar seemed like nothing. Yet he realized that perhaps small acts of protection matter too. He had kept people safe. He had given someone a chance to grow. That had to be enough. Driving home, Marcus found himself contemplating the horizon. 9 years in, and only a few more deployments stood between him and retirement. Who would he be when he was no longer operating in dangerous places? The question of life after the military was one he hadn't yet answered. The contemplation was interrupted by a call from his team leader. The timeline had moved up. The next deployment was coming sooner than expected. "Roger that," Marcus replied. "I'm good to go." Because that was what he did. That was who he was. A warrior, a protector, someone who steps up. Whether in a bar or a combat zone, the principles remained the same. Stay calm. Use force only when necessary, and help people become better versions of themselves along the way.